Welcome to this mindfulness challenge, which is simply a taste of mindfulness practices. And really, what we're learning to do is to unhook from autopilot and learn to be present in the moment. My name is Bud Wassell, and I teach mindfulness, among other things, at Yale New Haven Health System. And so, spend some time with me. This should last about 40 to 45 minutes, and you will get some information on mindfulness, what it's all about, what some of the benefits are, definitions, and a taste. So you'll really get a couple of practices that you can use in daily life. And I'll suggest some ways to continue as well. Once you finish this introductory session on mindfulness, feel free to explore some of the other videos on this YouTube channel, which were created for Yale New Haven Health, but you're certainly welcome to explore any of these. So when you see those references in the Yale logo, you'll understand why. But the principles of mindfulness and the practices will all apply. So to start, let's take a mindful pause. And the question becomes when? Well, pretty much now. Anytime is good. And this first very simple, quick, purposeful pause is just a way to kind of stop what you're doing and to be in the moment and to step back. And even if it's just a minute or two, which this will be, this can really change and reset ourselves a little bit so that we are coming off that autopilot and we just take a moment for ourselves. So wherever you are, if you're sitting or standing, it doesn't really matter. This is the kind of practice that can be done on the go. Just be still, be quiet for a moment. It may help to close the eyes, but you don't have to. But if you'd like to, close the eyes and just take a nice, full, deep breath. And really feel the air entering the lungs and expanding. And then as you exhale, feel the air coming out of the body, emptying all the air in the lungs, so that you really simply pay attention to the breathing itself as we do this, noticing this one breath. Then take another full, deep breath, and this time pay attention to your body. Simply be aware of your body sitting in the chair or standing, wherever the body is in time and space. Notice your feet on the floor, feel that sense of connection. If you're sitting, notice your seat in the cushion of the chair. Notice how the chair supports you. And then maybe ask yourself, what does my body need in the moment? Maybe it needs to have some water, or to stretch, or to have some food, whatever it is, maybe release a little tension. And then a third deep breath in and out. And this time, we just remember to bring some kindness to ourselves. We work hard at whatever we do. We do lots of things for other people. And sometimes we don't take care of ourselves. And so this is just a reminder to be kind to ourselves, to give ourselves some appreciation, and to make sure that we do take care of ourselves. And so you can open the eyes now, and that's what I call 3 breaths for a mindful pause. And all you're really doing is focusing on the breath, focusing on the body, focusing on yourself, and being kind. And what it does is it brings us to this way to tap into a blissful or peaceful moment, even if our lives are kind of busy and hectic. And there's lots of ways that you can do that. And I'm going to suggest some informal mindfulness practices as well. But first, let's talk about mindfulness and the definition. This is from Jon Kabat-Zinn. Jon Kabat-Zinn brought mindfulness practices through a course called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction back in the late 70s, actually. And he began teaching mindfulness to patients who were struggling with chronic illness and pain and difficult medical conditions. And he learned that when they learned mindfulness, they really felt better. Their conditions, in terms of pain levels and things like that, improved. So he developed this 8-week course called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, which is still kind of considered one of the gold standards in learning mindfulness. But his definition is mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So just breaking it down. So we pay attention, we learn to focus in the moment to what's going on. We do this on purpose. We take some time to do it. We set aside and we intentionally take time to do it. And we pull ourselves into the present moment, because what we learn is that so often our mind pulls us into the past. We rehash and we relive things that have already happened. And we also project into the future. So this coming into the present moment time and time again teaches us to be more present here and now. And here's kind of the tricky part, is to do this non-judgmentally. We are always kind of labeling things. We like things, we don't like things. We have opinions. We have all kinds of judgments and evaluations about ourselves and about the world around us. So what we try to do with mindfulness is we try to meet the moment in a non-judgmental way without going into the stories and about all those likes and dislikes that we have about things. Here's another definition from Dan Harris. He's the author of 10% Happier, also a podcast and a very good app. He's also happens to be an ABC News anchor, and he's written a couple of other books as well. And so his is, mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. So it's simply that ability to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what's going on, but not get swept away or kind of hijacked by those narratives that are going on. Okay? So if we move on, just to kind of introduce that there are formal practices, such as a sitting meditation, which we'll do in just a moment. And you can use lots of things. You can use this channel. There's lots of practices that you can try. There's apps. There's lots of other things on YouTube. There's lots of ways to get these kinds of things. So, but a sitting meditation is a formal practice. We'll also do a body scan, but there are others as well. We try to set aside time every day, so we have kind of a routine, and that's really where the benefits come in. The benefits include increased focus and concentration, ability to step back from stress, and it can increase our sense of connection and compassion with others. Now, those are just a few that I mentioned, but those are all strongly supported by the research. And I'd suggest that you simply experiment with different times and see what works best for you, different places to try this. It's not easy all the time to get the right conditions, and you'll learn you don't have to always have exactly the right conditions, but it helps in the beginning to have a regular time and place, and place that's relatively quiet where you can be undisturbed. So here are some examples of informal everyday practices. And the first one I'll talk about is called STOP. And that stands for S. The S in STOP is to stop, and to, especially if you're feeling a little bit stressed or overwhelmed. T is to take a deep mindful breath, feel the breath like we did before. O is to observe thoughts, feelings, and body sensations. And then the P is to proceed with that new kind of open awareness. Now, there's lots of routine things we do every day, right? We wash our hands, we do all kinds of things. I put a list up here. And usually when we do these things, we're thinking about all the other stuff that we have to do or the worries that we have. That autopilot kicks in. Well, what the informal practice is, when you do that activity, say it's washing your hands, just pay attention to washing your hands. Feel the soap, listen to the sound of it, the temperature of the water, what the lather and feels like when you lather up and you rub your hands together and you rinse off. Really paying attention and zooming into the sensory experience. And that helps you come off of autopilot and pay attention to the present moment. And I would suggest that you try this, maybe a different activity every day. One day you could do hand washing. Another day you could do brushing your teeth or doing the laundry or walking the dog or anything. You can do this with so many of the routine activities that we do day by day. Give it a try. It's a great way to reinforce the being in the present moment. Now, I want to talk a little bit about attitudes. They really help, and particularly the ones that I've listed here. It helps to be patient with these practices. Sometimes we get a bit impatient and restless, so this teaches us to slow down. It helps to be kind to ourselves. If we find that we are judging ourselves and being somewhat critical or saying that we're not doing this right or something like that, well, listen to that, be aware of that. But really, the point of all of these practices is not to be a super Olympic meditator or to get an A+ in this. It's really just to be kind to ourselves and to learn how to bring ourselves into the present moment. And it's more about the frequency. If you can do this on a regular daily-ish kind of basis, that's when the benefits really begin to kick in. And then acceptance really kind of means accepting what we feel and see in the present moment. It could be acceptance of our thoughts and our feelings and what's going on in our body. It could also be acceptance of what's going on in the world around us and what's kind of triggering those kinds of reactions. And then, as I said before, non-judging. That's such an important attitude. And so if you want to learn more about, there's actually 9 attitudes, again, that Jon Kabat-Zinn talks about. There's a link here, and these are on YouTube, and he talks about each one for about 2 minutes. So it's really a great explanation of how those can really be supportive and helpful to your mindfulness practice. Okay, so enough talking about it. Let's do the first sitting meditation and focusing on the breath. And what we're going to notice is that our mind wanders and we have a lot of thoughts, and that's okay. So you'll hear in the practice that what we do when that happens is we simply return our focus to the breath, to the next breath. And we keep doing that, especially if our mind is very active. So let's try it. So sit in a position that's comfortable. Sitting in a chair is perfectly fine. If you have a cushion and you want to sit cross-legged, you can do that. But sitting in a chair, on a couch, and it does help to have somewhat of an upright posture. And sit comfortably, be in a position where you can really relax, but also be alert and be awake in the moment. So take a moment to find that posture. And close your eyes. And another ground rule about this is you can close your eyes. That really kind of reduces any visual stimuli. But if you'd rather not close them completely, keep them slightly open with a downward, unfocused gaze. And so let's begin. Simply first pay attention to your body sitting here in the chair. Be aware of those points of contact where the body is supported by the chair. Feel your feet on the floor and really take a moment to explore that sense of connection and contact that your feet make with the floor. Feel your arms and hands resting comfortably. They can be resting on your thighs or in your lap. You can hold them together, whichever is most comfortable for you. Notice your posture. Take a moment if you'd like to kind of stretch out your spine a little bit. But again, be relaxed. And then we come to our breathing. And let's take 3 nice, full, deep breaths. So breathe in deeply. And breathe out long and slow. Let the out breath be longer. This helps us to relax. Do that again. Breathe in deep. Feel the air coming in, filling the lungs. And then again, a long, slow exhale, letting go and releasing and relaxing. One more time, breathing in deep. You can feel that sense of rising and refreshment, and then breathing out, you can feel that sense of relaxing and settling. And then just let your breath resume its natural, easy rhythm. You don't have to do anything with the breath right now. Just let the breath breathe itself. And as best you can, keep your attention on the breathing, on the cycle of your natural inflow and outflow. And it may help to feel the sensations of your breathing. So in other words, feel the air going in through the nostrils. Feel the slight tingling or whoosh as it goes down your windpipe. Feel the stretching and rising of the chest and the ribs and the lungs. And feel it all the way down to the belly so you can feel the slight stretching and then relaxing of the belly as you breathe in and out. So try to pick a spot. Notice where you feel the breath most directly and keep your focus there. And see if you can feel one entire breath from the beginning of an in-breath to the end of an out-breath. And then try 3 breaths in a row, keeping your focus on 3 breath cycles. And just give yourself permission to relax and enjoy this. Let go of any expectations. There's no special state that we have to achieve. Whatever your experience is just perfect as it is. And you might find that the mind distracts you and there are thoughts or other distractions, maybe sounds, that pull your attention away from the breath. So when you notice that, just be aware of that and kind of touch it and then let it go. And then bring your focus back to the next breath. So that we use the breath as an anchor to the present moment and we return to it time and time again. And we do this without judgment. We do this without giving ourselves a hard time because our mind will distract us time and time again, and that's okay. It's just simply what our minds do. We're not trying to stop thinking, or we're not trying to empty our minds, but we are focusing on the breath right now as an anchor and noticing when we get distracted, letting go of that, bringing our focus back to the next breath in a gentle, easy, friendly way. And just breathe. No place to go, nothing to do, no special way you need to be, or nothing you have to attain. Just be yourself in the moment and rest on the waves of your breathing. And just notice what this feels like to be still and quiet. Notice what it feels like to rest the mind and the body. And we'll close in a minute, but before we do that, maybe make an intention to bring this quality of awareness with you to the next activities of your day. And if you're feeling at all stressed or scattered or whatever, you can always use the breath to recenter. And even if it's just, 2 or 3 breaths, it's always with us. It's always our anchor to the present moment. And so closing, we'll bring our attention back to our body and feel again our feet on the floor, our seat in the chair, And if you'd like, maybe take one last deep breath in and allow yourself to relax for a moment. And then when you're ready, gradually open the eyes to let some light in. And, feel free to move a little bit, stretch. We've been sitting still, so feel free to stretch yourself out, whatever feels right for you in the moment. And just notice what that feels like. Your awareness, your quality of awareness is probably somewhat different than when we first started. It is this sense of being in the moment, not having to do anything. And it's this, I love this cartoon. It's really, when we're on autopilot, so often our minds get distracted by all the worries of our life. And sometimes we can find ourselves obsessing and ruminating about these things. And our mind wandering also often goes to negative things. So when we practice, even informally or formally, we learn to clear the mind. We don't get rid of thoughts, but they settle down, kind of like when you shake up a snow globe and then you stop and you let all those particles kind of come down to the bottom. It's kind of what happens so that you can see more clearly and you can be more aware and attentive to the present moment, kind of like the dog in this cartoon. Okay, that's being mindful in that way, returning to presence. But it's hard because, we have stress. Most American adults have a lot of stress in their lives. And this is what happens, if we have multiple stressors throughout the day. So you can see from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., those little starbursts are stressors. And what tends to happen is that they build on one another, and we end the day feeling quite stressed out and being mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted when we do this. And that's kind of very common for a lot of people. But we can learn to, with each stressor or each thing that kind of triggers that fight or flight response, we can learn to relax and bring on there is what they call relaxation response. Even if it's taking a couple of nice full deep breaths or doing a quick mindfulness exercise, some informal mindfulness, this helps bring on that relaxation response and helps us come back to a normal baseline, okay? And the more we practice this, the better at it we get. So try it. That's a great way to interrupt the stress cycle. And that's one way that this really helps us with stressors. But another way is that we realize that we often tell ourselves stories about the stress. And when we relax ourselves and we can see more clearly, we kind of really learn what is stressing us out. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But before we go into that, I want to introduce a different practice called the body scan. Now, we've all probably been here in an airport. We go through this kind of unpleasant body scan. It's not that, okay? So it's not at all like that, really. But it's really more like taking a moment and realizing that the body is always present. So think about that. Our minds carry us away, but the body is always in the present moment. So with the body scan, we learn to tune into that. And I'll do an exercise with you right now. Maybe we'll take 5-6 minutes to do a body scan. This is a traditional kind of exercise. You can do it laying down, kind of like the man in the mountain here. Or you can do it sitting, and you can actually do this standing, and you can do this as a longer exercise. It's a great way to fall asleep. It's a great way to come out of your head into your body. So let's do this practice right now. So you can sit for this, or you could lay down, but sitting's perfectly fine. So again, sit comfortably, sit in a position that is relaxing, but also being awake and alert. So kind of a balance between relaxed attentiveness. And I would say for this, if you're comfortable, to close the eyes. And bring your awareness into the face and just notice the feelings perhaps around your mouth. And even on the inside of the mouth, we can be aware of the tongue and the inner cheeks and the moisture that's there and the contact where our lips meet. And see if you can bring a slight half smile to your lips. And sense that smile at the lips and at the inside of the mouth. And then let that smile spread up so that you can feel it at the eyes. And let that smile spread through the rest of your face so that it kind of relaxes and sends a message of ease to your forehead and around your eyes and relaxes the jaw. And then let the smile spread down into the shoulders and let your shoulders feel that sense of a smile and allow the shoulders to relax and drop. But just notice anything that you're aware of, any sensations around the shoulders. Kind of feeling them from the inside out. And then let your awareness drift down into your arms, sensing the length and the volume of your arms all the way down to your wrists. And then be aware of your hands. And often there are a lot of sensations in the hands. So noticing any sense of sensations or tingling or aliveness in the palms, fingers, the thumbs. And as we do this, we're just really observing. And so if we come across an area that feels a little tense or some discomfort, just kind of noticing that, be aware of that, see if you can just sort of accept it as it is. If you want to try to relax that a little bit and breathe into that, that's okay too. And then coming back up into the shoulders, we let that smile now spread down into the chest and into the heart area. And feel the breath and feel the movement of the breath in the upper chest. Kind of like we're breathing right into the heart with that smile, keeping that sense of friendliness and warmth with it. And then let it spread down into the lower part of the torso, the lower back, the lower belly, the pelvic area. And just noticing what you are aware of here, inside and out. And then letting your awareness drift down into your legs. And so being aware of the full length and volume of the legs all the way down to the ankles. And then down into the feet so that you're aware of the tops of your feet and the soles of your feet, all the toes. You can sense the contact the feet make with the ground and any sensations. Just be aware. And now, having covered the whole body, open up your awareness to sense the whole body at once. And just opening up in a receptive, open, relaxed, friendly way. Just be aware of the dance of sensations in the whole body, this sense of aliveness. From the tip of your toes to the top of your head and out to your fingertips. And for a moment or so, just be aware of the whole body breathing in this open, relaxed, receptive way. And again, just notice what this awareness is like for you. And remember, there's no right or wrong way to feel here. So just whatever you notice is perfectly okay. Just observe what this feels like. Again, to be still, to be in the moment through the body. And again, when you're ready, we'll begin to close the meditation, and you can slowly open the eyes. And again, feel free to stretch or move a little bit, whatever feels comfortable for you. And just notice what that was like. And if we were in a class, actively, in a real class, I'd ask for some feedback on what these experiences are like. So just kind of answer that question for yourself. What does it feel like to do that kind of an exercise? Some people say that they feel tired and they fall asleep or almost fall asleep. It's almost like a dreamlike state. And that's fine. If you fell asleep, it may be just kind of maybe you need more sleep, or maybe you were able to let go of things. Some people say their mind is still really active and it's hard to settle, and that's okay too. And it's just being aware of that. Whatever it was like, there's no right or wrong here. So just notice what it was like for you. And they put up this picture of the half smile of the Mona Lisa, because that's an important part of this, is to remember to be kind to ourselves. If we notice that we're giving ourselves a hard time as we do this, let go of that. Give yourself a pat on the back, even just for doing this kind of an exercise. And the half smile actually does help the nervous system relax. It helps lower the blood pressure. It really sends that signal to be friendly to oneself. So the other thing we can do is try some cat yoga. And as I'm talking, you might want to do some simple stretches. Looking at these funny cats here doing these yoga poses, but gentle yoga, mindful movement, simple stretching. When we do this, do it slowly. Only stretch in a way that feels good. Don't stretch anything if it's sore or you've got a bad back or something. Be careful about that. Stretch just to the point of, don't make it, an uncomfortable thing. And breathe and just really feel the stretch. Pay attention to what it feels like to stretch that particular muscle, that part of the body. And then, when after the stretch, what it feels like as you move along. Okay, so that's mindful movement. And you can also do mindful walking, or there's an actual walking meditation. And what this simply means is that so often when we're walking to different places, our mind is spinning again. We're thinking about the to-do list and all the stuff that we haven't done. And so when you're walking, just simply pay attention to what it feels like to lift and place each foot, what it's like as you move and you slow down a little bit. And as your knee bends and as your legs move, the slight sway of the body and the breathing as you walk. And just simply, again, pay attention to the experience coming out of your head into your body. Great way to be in the moment as you're going somewhere. We can also do this with eating. And these are also 2 links here. There's a classic raisin eating meditation. You can try that. Or if you prefer, try it with a piece of chocolate. Those are links that you can try. But here are just some guidelines, just to kind of slow down, to appreciate the whole experience of eating. Most of us tend to multitask when we eat these days. So this is kind of like single tasking as we do this, really, so that we really appreciate and taste and savor the food. So try that too. And here are just some quotes to ponder. And this is where I think mindfulness practice really helps us with our thought process and our feelings and how we react to the world, which really can be stressful, and especially coming out of the pandemic. It's been very difficult times for many of us. And so this first quote, "We are not troubled by things, but by the opinions we have about things." And it's the idea that, the stressor itself doesn't really stress us out. It's what we say to ourselves about it. Okay. It's how we interpret it. It has to do with our beliefs about those things. Okay. And then between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And that's the key. Instead of reacting automatically to things, because we have been conditioned by life and by our own experiences, when we learn mindfulness practices and we learn to slow down and step back from them, and we learn to see the thoughts happening and be aware of them, that's a whole different kind of meditation, by the way. We can learn to respond wisely in the moment rather than automatically stress. And if we don't do that, it often ends up feeling like this. We have, accumulating thoughts that weigh us down. And we have those stories that we tell and those beliefs, and they really do become a heavy, heavy burden. So interrupting that cycle, taking a moment to slow down, to realize that those thought patterns can actually be changed, or we can learn to choose thoughts differently. And those thought patterns really can be quite freeing. And we kind of do this within a meditation. So you'll notice, and maybe you did in those 2 meditations we tried, that the mind is still active. Things, pop up. And so that's to be expected. We cannot stop thinking completely. We cannot empty our minds completely. But we notice, we're aware, and we can really sense thoughts as they come and go, kind of like mental events. And there's an actual meditation, as I mentioned, that where we really focus on thoughts and we're aware of thoughts as they come and go. We kind of notice them, we kind of touch them, we let them go, and we can always come back to the anchor of the breath or the body so that we can really see more clearly. And of course, emotions are often associated with thoughts, so this also helps us work with emotions and that link between thoughts and emotions. And if we have strong, difficult emotions, this also can help us be with them in a kind of in a more friendly way. It changes our relationship to emotions, and we can learn to not get swept away by the emotion that we're having. We can learn to notice it, to label it, and to choose our response, and really, in a sense, learn to become more emotionally intelligent. And if it's a difficult emotion, something that's troubling us, we can learn to soothe ourselves with some self-compassion and loving kindness. And that's, those are 2 more examples of different kinds of meditations that if you want to explore some of the more advanced or, different kinds of meditations, you'll find some of those on the YouTube channel as well. All of this just helps us take the weight off our mind. It helps us to see more clearly in the moment as we're going through life, which, we all know can be difficult at times. Okay, so just to point out, we're coming towards the close, but there are lots of resources, as I mentioned, to support your practice. There are very good apps. I highly recommend Insight Timer. Also, 10% Happier is a good one. Calm is a good one, but there's lots out there. And if you already have one, that's great. They often have specific different kinds of meditations. So sleep is a big one. So all of these have a whole section on sleep, getting to sleep, staying asleep when we wake up. So you might want to explore some of those. This link to the YouTube is the channel that you're on now. And you'll see lots of different playlists. We have a challenge, which is a whole month challenge. And then we have COVID-related meditations. And if you're working, we have some mindfulness at work practices that you can do. And that last link is my website, where I also have some meditations and some other information about mindfulness. Now, beyond that, you can also try some videos. There's lots of videos out there. These are some examples. These are all brief. The first 2 are by Dan Harris, who I mentioned before. And then the third one is another good one about that crystal ball. It's like the snow globe, letting the snow settle down. and letting our minds clear. And then that link to the 9 Attitudes by Jon Kabat-Zinn. So I want to thank you very much for joining me during this time, and for your openness and your willingness to try some of these practices. I'll leave you with this quote by Jon Kabat-Zinn. Mindfulness is about being fully awake in our lives. It's about perceiving the exquisite vividness of each moment. And we also gain immediate access to our own powerful inner resources for insight, transformation, and healing. So again, feel free to explore some of the other recordings on the YouTube channel. And I wish you well in your mindfulness journey. And so enjoy the day and mind the moment. Take good care of yourself. You deserve it.